Alright, so I'm making another video. There's some other content that I want to upload, but I'm going to make this video for now instead. As you can see, I'm in bed. I'm relaxing. But I just want to talk about why I produce this content. Um, I produce this content because it's based on the experiences that I've been through personally, and I feel it's important to share because it's something that really has affected me. I would say psychologically over the course of my life. I mean, just dealing with these incidences in relation to the last video. Um, I was expelled from the Citadel. In that video, I talked about swastikas on campus, and they weren't just like etched in or graffiti. It was like actual, you know, life-size Nazi flags, as big as the Ukrainian flag that's in some of my other videos, some of my other earlier videos, like oil field work and stuff like that. Um, yeah, it was like that, and there are a lot of other different situations. If you read the books that I talked about, then you'll understand. Also, I spent a good portion of time. I spent about a year in California, and California is really progressive. When I went out to California, I was extremely happy. I felt like I had escaped sort of like a burden almost coming out of South Carolina when I went to California. The problem is that if you go into the predominantly black communities over there, it's the same thing, but just a little bit different. And especially like in the Los Angeles area, the history in the last video I talked about like schizophrenia and stuff. The history that Los Angeles has with black people, typically if a black person um, is not does not join a gang, is not under a gang's protection, and something happens like they get shot at or something, then people will say things like, "Oh, that person is just paranoid," and then they get marked off as schizophrenic, and they basically get disposed of. So this stuff is concerning to me because like I've had personal experiences very similar to this, and again, it's one of those things where like you think to yourself like this is unreal. This is not a situation that should happen. Um, I look at plenty of people that are living happy lives, and they're not affected by these things, but I'm sort of coming at it from an angle of the opposite perspective. And I'm able to live a happy life too, but due to these experiences, I have to put this content out there because if I don't speak up, then no one will hear me, and nothing good will come of it. All these things will just continue to happen, and no one will ever know about it. And quite honestly, that's how people want it. So if you're going through something, you need to speak up and say, this happened or this is happening, etc. You got to let your voice be heard. Um, I post a lot of stuff on Twitter to express concern, not to be negative, but to say that it is a concern. Like if I were to just act as if everything were okay all the time when things are not, then that'd be a lie. I mean, it doesn't make sense to act positive if things are not positive. If your hand is on a stove and the burner's on, your hand's gonna burn. So you say, this hurts. I need to move my hand. It's the same thing with these circumstances that I'm talking about. Um, I totally understand that there are positive things happening in the world. Positive things happen in the world every day. But at the same time, negative things do too. And I'm not trying to highlight the negative things. I'm just looking at things from a realistic standpoint based on my own experiences, my own personal experiences. Other people might not have had the same experiences. There are probably people that have had the same experiences and they understand, or maybe there are people that have had worse experiences than me. But I think the bottom line is really to say that I'm really not trying to be negative when I post this stuff. I'm just trying to be honest and straightforward and say, this is what I see. And it's not, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me. I got a lot of other stories that I want to tell. I don't want my whole channel to be about this stuff, but I'm definitely going to post these stories. I don't know what other content I'm going to make this channel about. It would be easy for me to just post like a bunch of car reviews, even though a lot of people already do that already. Um, I've seen other YouTubers say that recommend that YouTubers like pick one niche and run with that. I've considered that. I don't think I would want this to be my niche, uh, but this stuff has to be heard, and I don't know. I don't know what kind of content I really want to get into. What kind of content I really want to commit to. But I got to put more of this information out there, just to kind of share. By the way, in the video before, the one titled "I was expelled from the Citadel," I talked about how when Obama was elected, some of the students at the school dressed up in Klan outfits both times, so in 2008 and 2012. In that news article, um, that was an incident where some kids were photographed, so they were caught on camera, and the media happened to catch wind of it. Now, both times when Obama was elected and the kids paraded around in Klan outfits, it was not behind closed doors. It was out in the barracks, and nobody's allowed in the barracks except for cadets. But the point of me saying this is that it was a big deal. It just wasn't caught on camera. For all the black students that were there, they were like, it was a big deal. We were like, this is crazy, etc. But we didn't, we may have texted our families about it, but we didn't record it. So the issue is that it wasn't on tape. The fact that this other incident was in the news, it was a much smaller incident, and so it was easier to brush off. The other incidents were a much bigger deal, but they weren't caught on tape, so they didn't receive national media coverage. And I think that's really important, um, to realize, is that because I'm in a situation right now where sometimes the dialogue between my roommate and me it gets heated, and I'm in a situation where I've talked to the NYPD and they say, well, just record an incident if it happens, because what'll happen is my roommate will say certain things and then he'll go back and say, oh, I never said that. And the only time there'll be an actual record of it is if I record it. The point of me saying this is to say that, with like the case with like Arbery and all these other cases, it's caught on tape so people see it. And there's always some sort of controversy, some kind of excuse until, it's blatant and it's on camera for everyone to see. And then everyone's like, oh, and they're shocked. But based on my experience, you're not always going to have a camera present unless you wear like a body cam, which I've thought about doing actually. But I just want to say that these have been my experiences, um, and I want to highlight them because I want people to know what is not being seen, what's not being recorded, what's going on when the cameras are not around. Um, this is not, I'm sure this is not just my story. I mean, obviously, this video and this channel is most likely going to be my story, but there are other cases that happen like this all the time. So I just want to put content like this out there for now, and I want people to understand why I think the way I do, and why I kind of like stay to myself. I don't talk to a lot of people, and just my experiences, like what they've been, the crazy stuff I've been through. It's easier for me to put this stuff out there to the world versus talk one on one with a person or do something like see a therapist. And the reason why is because mostly if I do that, it's confidential. And I'm at a point right now where I don't want this stuff to be confidential because if it's private, nobody's going to know about it. People aren't going to know my story. So I definitely want this to be a situation where people know. I don't want it to be a case where, it's like swept under the rug, or if, something happens in the future and people are up in arms, they can go back and reference and say, that kid or that guy, he went through some stuff too. He was around when it happened. Um, and just to say, like, I just think that this stuff, like with the Ahmed Arbery guy, like it happens too often. So that's why I'm putting this content out there, not to start trouble, but to say that I've seen it and I've been a part of it too. Anyway, drop a like, leave a comment, let me know what you guys think. I'll produce more content soon.